Welcome to episode 2 of the Escaping Normal podcast. I've got a very special guest here with me this morning. Actually, a fellow South African. The legend goes by the name of Matt Smith. He is a self-made millionaire. He is the founder and CEO of his own real estate group, the Luxury Collection. And to be honest with you, just an all-round, humble, awesome guy.
Appreciate
Matt,
it. Thanks
welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Thanks so much for having me. It's honored to be here.
Amazing. So, bro, how was your morning? What you get up to?
This morning we smashed out some paddle, 9 a.m. Then just got a shower, came straight here.
Who you sort of playing paddle with? Do you play often?
I mean, maybe once every Saturday with my missus, and then just her friends.
Are they good? As good as you?
Terrible.
Honestly, the worst thing I think with paddle is when you play, people that aren't quite as good. You just can't get the rally in. You just can't get going.
100%. I mean, I haven't played someone good yet, so I don't know if I'm good, but yeah, I mean, at least I look good when I'm playing these people.
100%. So when I first moved here, I got sort of really into paddle to the extent where I bought my own rackets.
Oh,
then it gets serious.
100%.
Spent like 1,200 dirhams. But the funniest part of when I did that is I arrived home, and when I bought it at the court. I was playing with it. I was terrible. Get home and it says, for professionals only.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, oh mate, did you really go and do that?
Wow.
But once again, that's sort of the beauty of Dubai. So many different sort of sports. What are you sort of into from like a fitness perspective?
So I go to the gym every single day. I gym in One Zabil, the biggest cantilevered building in Dubai by Kersner Group. Mm-hmm. And there's a cool gym there called Cyro, and they're pretty much focused on recovery as well. So they've got saunas, ice baths, cryotherapy, massage chairs. It's just a nice experience, and they've got like working stations there as well. So if you want to take your laptop, it's ideal. And then I like fighting, just in the street. No, I'm joking. I like, just a bit of MMA, a bit of jiu-jitsu, and then back home used to do a lot of rugby, but here I haven't really found the time to properly get into that. So.
Amazing. Yeah. So maybe let's go back to sort of where kind of all began. We're fellow South Africans.
Yes,
where's the originator of Matt Smith?
So home is Hermanus, South Africa. And born there, grew up there, moved out of Hermanus when I was 17 years old. So I got put in school a year early. So finished when I was 17 and moved directly to Cape Town. Traveled a little bit around Cape Town just to figure out what I wanted to do. Ended up becoming a bartender, and that was about 2 months that I did that. And one day my friend sent me a post on Facebook saying Dubai is calling, and obviously immediately I was intrigued because it was a post for a lifeguard, and I had previously done lifeguarding courses when I was like 16, 15 and all of that. Mm-hmm. So got in touch with a recruiter, and then next thing I knew I was on a plane. 18 years old, flying over to Dubai. I thought like, this is the life. Didn't realize the conversion of currency though, because at the time when I was working as a bartender, I was earning 6,000 rand a month, which for those who don't know is around 1,200, 1,300 dirhams per month. So I've got offered exactly the same package from Atlantis, but I got food and accommodation and transport included. Yeah. So I thought it was the fucking deal at the time. Got here. Got told that we'd be living on the Palm. Ended up in JVC staff accommodation.
Oh, nothing wrong with a bit of JVC, mate.
Nothing wrong with JVC, but when you're 3 oaks in a room, it's a bit of a different story. But anyway, so started my journey as a lifeguard here.
So how old were you when you sort of came across?
18 years old.
You were 18.
Literally just turned 18.
And you said you were born in Hermanus. And for those that sort of don't know Hermanus, give me a little description of sort of Hermanus.
So where Cape Town is, about 2 hours drive from Cape Town. You have to go over the mountain called Solari's Pass. And just a little coastal town. A lot of stoners, a lot of people not doing much, a lot of people going there to retire, playing golf. So not really a place where you can grow as an individual. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it a lot, like people that stay there after a certain age tend to get stuck there. And that's something that I wanted to avoid. So as soon as I had the opportunity, I just went straight to Cape Town to go and see what we can do there. And inevitably, that brought me to Dubai. So super grateful for the decision.
So you finished school in Hermanus, and then you went to Cape Town?
Straight to Cape Town, 3 months in Cape Town, just under 3 months, and then straight to Dubai.
How are you, let's sort of go back, like how are you sort of as a student?
Wow, not the best student, I would say. I mean, I've always been quite like good at sport and stuff like that. Always played at a provincial level, athletics, rugby, hockey, whatever it was.
What's your favorite?
At the time, it was rugby, but I'd say I actually got the biggest accolades in hockey, which I only played part time anyway. But yeah, that's another whole story. And as an academic, I used to like the things that I liked, and I used to not care about the things that I didn't. So that reflected quite heavily in my grades. You'd see 30% here, but 80% here.
Yeah.
So as an aggregate, I would say I was a C student. So nothing special. Couldn't get into university really.
Yeah.
Even if I tried.
Decent.
Yeah, decent. Yeah.
You know, I would probably say C students, man. In school, I was verging around sort of like the D's.
I might be a D.
The C, 60s was the C's, and I was like, oh, good. But I think, man, Afrikaans and maths, I was the maths lit guy.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that was something that I had a conversation with my mum the other day. I said I should have taken maths lit because I haven't done maths basically since I've left school unless it's counting my flipping grocery bill. But yeah, I mean, at least you put yourself in a challenging situation. So I guess that's the only thing that I learned from doing maths at high school.
So then you finished school. Obviously, you didn't go to uni.
Right?
Why didn't you go to uni? Because I feel like, you know, you might not be able to get into uni, but there are obviously different private unis and like colleges and stuff. What was your thoughts?
Like for someone of my academic capability or like what I wanted to do, it just didn't make sense. You know, like what would be the point as a C student if I'm not going to university to be a doctor or lawyer or something highly specialized? I don't really see the point in wasting 3 years of time because it just becomes a party situation then. And that's something that I desperately try to avoid. So initially what I wanted to do was be a deckhand and go and work on the yacht. So I was working to save up some money to do my deckhand course to eventually go and work in Mediterranean or the Caribbean, wherever I could sort of get a chance. And I imagine that's what a lot of South Africans try and do. Most of them are trying to be deckhands or stewards or something like that. Then, obviously, as I said, this opportunity arose where my friend literally just sent me a post on Facebook and it said, Dubai is calling, picture of a lifeguard. There was a guy called Trevor. He was in Durban at the time, and he was just hauling the South Africans in to come and work because he made it sound like it was the best job in the world. But then you also don't know that you get 50-degree heat in the summer.
And you're a lifeguard.
And you're a lifeguard working outside. How
was that?
Man, it was tough. Like you're working like 9-10 hours a day, which is fine. But when you're working outside 9-10 hours a day, and like in that heat, it's just not sustainable. And I know guys that were with me there like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that are still there today. Because of how they sort of like trap you into that system because they pay you so little, and they give you the food and the accommodation and stuff like that in order to not pay you enough to be able to save any money to get out of that sort of system. So that was the first issue that I sort of came across. So I was in that job for say 9 months, just less than 9 months actually. And I managed to get out and I then started working as a waiter.
How did you manage to get out? Tell me about how did you get that job as a waiter?
So funny story, I actually got fired because I was 18, obviously, when you come to Dubai, and I got caught drinking at the bar. And obviously the drinking age here is 21. So
how did they catch you?
They caught me on the cameras actually, and then I didn't pitch up for work the next day. So exemplary person, and then just got sacked. So I was in a bit of a situation, didn't know what was going to happen with me, but luckily I'd met someone that gave me an opportunity to go and work for MasterChef, the MasterChef brand. I imagine a lot of people know what it is.
Okay.
They opened up their first actual restaurant in the world in Dubai Marina, and I worked there as a runner. Basically. So exactly the same salary, 19,000 dirhams a year, but in this case
19,000 dirhams a year.
A year, yeah, exactly. So it works out to like 1,600 dirhams per month. So as you can imagine, not very sustainable, can't really save much. Like you can literally spend that in a night out. So yeah, or going for dinner at a nice place in DIFC or something like that. So yeah, bit of an issue. But anyway, in this job, you could earn tips. So like obviously you were incentivized to give a good service and speak to these people and have confidence when you were dealing with them. So I would say I'm glad that I started in the hospitality industry in order to then get into a sales industry because you have that higher level of customer service. So I think it's quite important, to be honest. But the problem with that getting tips is the tips were divided over like the course of like the whole restaurant, and it was like rallied up as per your position. So assistant manager would get the highest cut runner would get the lowest cut, or like guy washing the dishes would get the
Yeah.
lowest cut. So as much as you made, you wouldn't really see the end profit at the end of it. So
And
yeah.
what I mean, I never had I don't quite, I mean, I've never worked in hospitality, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I always wondered why they do that, because I think that it should be the person that puts in the most graft in terms of like being able to build those relations, be able to get the tips.
Yeah.
They should be the ones to
I
get
agree.
that.
I agree, but I also think they underpay the people in the higher positions as well. So it's a
Yeah.
way of trying to like bring them back in by giving them that extra incentive, if you will.
I guess.
So yeah, that's the reasoning I can see behind it. I'm not sure if that's the true reason, but yeah, that's what makes the most sense.
So you did that. How long did you do that for?
So did that for until December 2019.
So
I think.
you came over to Dubai in
January 2019.
2019. Then you
Yes.
worked for Lifeguard for
Lifeguard for, let's call it 6 months. I think I left six months in, and then I did another 6 months in the restaurant, basically.
Okay.
Unfortunately, got fired again. So as you can see, I'm not the best employee.
Recluse.
Yeah, exactly, recluse. But yeah, I got fired again because we were in a situation where it was a staff night out, and we were going back home on the bus to our accommodation, and me and one guy just weren't getting on, so we started punching each other in the bus. We were actually really good friends. The next day we were like, sorry man, like it's all good and stuff like that. Unfortunately, the assistant manager was also in the bus at the time, walked into work the next day, both of us fired on the spot. So that guy is now back in Uzbekistan, which is not ideal. And
How did you manage to stay?
So I stayed because 3 weeks prior to that, I met someone called Trevor, who had just started a removal services business. So he used to run a scheme in JBR where he was doing like rent to rents, and he was having tenants renting per room from him, from his properties in JBR. And then he just started a removal services business. So removal services being moving and packing business. He had one guy working on his team who was sort of his like Pakistani operations manager, who had his team of guys that would do the actual job. And then he was now looking to bring in a salesperson. I called him as soon as I realized that I'd been sacked, and he said, "Okay, bro, like let's like come. I've got an opportunity for you. We can sort you out as the sales and marketing manager." Obviously, you'd expect sales and marketing manager is going to make quite a bit of money. This definitely wasn't the case. Like the way that he'd structured it for me, obviously coming from a hospitality industry, earning such a low wage, I didn't really know how money worked at that point. And yeah, I was earning like 300 dirhams per move that I managed to get. But my source of leads were me calling people on Dubizzle, selling their furniture to see if they wanted to move house or see if they were moving house. And that's why the reason that they were selling their furniture. So it was a little bit of a difficult pitch, like obviously calling someone out of nowhere when they're expecting someone to buy their furniture, and then you calling them, pitching them removal services. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that was doing it, probably loads and loads. But I will say the lesson that I learned out of that whole situation was I got my neck stuck into sales. If you know what I mean. Cold calling, getting rejected, pushing past the rejections, trying to get closer to that yes, which definitely helped me a lot along the line, which I'll get to as we go along. So yeah, that was a bit of a tough time. And like one thing that I released a video on my Instagram the other day, just giving a little bit of a background of the story, but I never went into the depths of like how bad it actually got for me. I've hit rock bottom twice when I've been in Dubai. The second time we'll talk about a little bit further along, but obviously the situation wasn't really working too well for me. I was living in an apartment in JBR, shared apartment. There was I think 23 people living in that apartment. So I was in a partitioned living room.
What was the size of this apartment?
It was a 3-bedroom, it's a 2,000 square foot. It had a maid's room as well. So there was 3 guys in the maid's room. There was 4 people per bedroom, and then there was like quite a lot of us in the living room. And it wasn't partitioned off even by like actual partitions that you build in. It was partitioned off by like a little barrier that you can just put up and move. So it was a bit of a cuck situation.
And
obviously.
nationalities?
Ranging from all around the world. To
so
be
like
honest.
a melting pot of cultures.
Literally.
Just not an
ideal
homely
situation.
environment.
Yeah, exactly. And like obviously you have to wake up every day. You have to go and smash the phones. You don't have an office or anything like that. So you've got a phone that you've been given, got the laptop, and you just go and sit somewhere in JBR and just try and make it happen. If you know what I mean. There was no salary involved or anything like that. The only thing that I got was a car. So yeah. Anyway, the story goes on. I lived there for a while. Obviously, you can imagine the kitchen situation wasn't good. The bathroom situation wasn't good. And eventually I didn't make any money and I had to go and sleep in my car. So what I used to do, there's a building called Rimmel in JBR, and I used to drive into the parking lot there, and they used to have a basement level, and I realized that more people park on the ground level, less people park on the basement level. I'd just go put myself in a corner, have my fucking bed sheets and that, and just sleep in the car. So that was like 3 weeks, luckily, because after 3 weeks I realized I honestly can't do this anymore. It was literally so demoralizing, so unmotivational.
You said, was that when you were kind of like hit that kind of like rock bottom
this was a
point,
rock bottom point for me. Like I was 19 at the time, and obviously I understand like people need to eat shit in order to progress, but like I thought that was a little bit heavy. Anyway, so I got back into another shared apartment and just did that for a while, and one day like I was about to call it a day. And go back to South Africa. I was already spoken to my mom and stuff like that. And then I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to give it one more try, because what had happened in between that time, my boss had gone to jail for possession of substance. So at that point, I didn't even have a job anymore. Do you know what I mean? So like, what do you do next when you've got no money, no job? So I walked down to Marina Plaza, the building that I work in right now, where my office is located. And I went floor to floor to try and like get a job. The first company I went to was De Beer, because obviously I know they're a big wealth management company. They've got loads of offices in the building. But obviously this was now 2020. COVID was approaching. So like had
COVID hit?
COVID had hit in China already, and like countries were starting to lock down. Dubai was preparing for a lockdown. I don't know if you were here at this point.
No, I wasn't.
So Dubai was preparing for a lockdown. So when I got there, I was obviously had my hopes up, but the whole recruitment team had already been made to work from home. So there was no one for me to even speak to. Do you know what I mean? And obviously I wasn't thinking straight at that time. Obviously, who's hiring during COVID when people are not allowed to come to work? There's salary cuts. There's no business coming in. So as I was leaving the building, I got in the elevator and I met a guy called Barry Gale. And I'll never forget this. He just looked at me and he said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something like, you look like a special guy or something like that. And he said, I told him that like my situation at the time. I said, yeah, I'm going home, didn't manage to find a job or whatever. And he said, if you can stay past COVID, then I will have a job for you to come and work in a real estate firm. And I thought, this is obviously my chance. So I managed to pull it together and stay here through the
How did you manage to do that?
I borrowed a little money from my mother, and that I think it was like 10,000 rand, which was like 2,000 dirhams. So I was living on the breadline throughout COVID. Didn't have like any luxuries or anything like that, but managed to make it through. Started as soon as the doors basically opened. And as I mentioned before, my boss went to jail, and he had some previous implications of tenants that were living in his apartment that he couldn't service and couldn't pay their deposits back and stuff like that. I used to do like rent collections for him at certain times, and one of those people called the office and said, we're going to open a police case against him. He's stolen our deposit. Meanwhile, I had nothing to do with it. And it sort of backfired, and I got fired like 2 weeks into that new position. So I just thought like I remember sat on the tram at this point, and I was just bawling my eyes out. I was like, how has this happened to me again? I just got that opportunity, and now I'm just back in the shitter. So that same guy, Barry Gale, took me up to a company called PH Real Estate, which was in the same building. And yeah, they introduced me to a guy called Miles Bush, and they interviewed me. Obviously, I was quite nervous. At the time, I didn't even have a full suit. I was wearing like skinny jeans, like a jacket that I had from before, and like some shirt with like a weird little collar. I've actually got some pictures of it. I'll send it over to you. But yeah, met these guys, and they went out of the room after the interview, and I was obviously sitting there stressing my tits off because I don't know what's going to happen. And they came back and they said, okay, I think we've got an opportunity for you. You can become the JBR specialist in rentals. And I thought, okay, perfect. That makes sense for me. I'm living in the area. I can get around on the tram and stuff like that. Yeah. I can sort of make it happen. It was extremely difficult for me because this is now me transitioning into a broker, right? It was extremely difficult because of the fact that I couldn't afford like credit on my phone and stuff like that. So I was making all my calls from the office phone, but when I had viewings and stuff like that, I couldn't, if something were to happen between me leaving the office and me getting to the viewing, there was no sense of communication unless the client called me because I didn't have any data or credit at the time. So I was hopping onto trams, getting to the viewings, sweating my tits off, and just hoping that these clients would pitch up. Anyway, Did it
And
for...
tell me, were there many times where you would get there,
Yeah, there
and
was...
you just sat there waiting because someone's 15 minutes late, you think
Exactly,
they're not showing up. And everyone,
yeah.
inshallah, in Dubai is late.
Exactly. So you start stressing and whatever, you think they cancelled, do you leave, do you go and look for them? Because JBR is a little bit complicated, right? You get the ground floor, which is where the road is, but that's not the lobby. The lobby is on the plaza level. So, oh shit, do you think they've gone to ground? Do you think they've gone to plaza? So you're running in between. But like, I mean, you figure it out after a while. Anyway, so did that for about 6 months.
And this is on a commission only. You're on a commission only base.
Exactly. I was bringing my pot noodle into work every single day. Like people still laugh with me about it. But I just smashed it out. I was working harder than everyone else, and I can confirm that I was working harder than everyone else. I was last one in the office every single day, first one in every single morning. And yeah, after 6 months, I became like top rentals broker within PH Real Estate. So
how long did it take you sort of to do your first deal?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 weeks of the first deal, and I did 2 deals in my first month, and then the ball started rolling from there. Then started earning some reasonably good money for a new rentals broker.
Especially considering what you were earning as a lifeguard and all of that.
But also let's take it into perspective, like what is a rental price now compared to what the rental price was in COVID? Because you know what happened to the market in COVID, it completely tanked. So for example, a 3-bedroom in JBR now is around 220,000 dirhams for rent. Back then you could pick it up for 84,000. So you were fighting to even get a 5,000 dirham fee. If you didn't have that much stock, you're networking with other brokers, you're doing a split deal on 4,000, which means you get paid 1,000 dirhams after your money goes to the company.
You don't think of that.
So it's not that much, so you have to do deals in volume, if you know what I mean. But then I started earning a little bit of money. I started doing this volume of deals, and I started getting a little bit carried away, back on the drinking, going out, trying to fit in with the culture of the company, because obviously some people were making really good amounts of money there, and they were going out to Pier 7, which is connected to the building. I wanted to be a part of that whole thing. And month 7, I went from doing extremely well from month 1 to 6, month 7 doing like 3,000 on the board. Miles, the owner at the time, called me back in and said, if you carry on like this, we're going to get rid of you. So then again, had to pulled my socks up, managed to become top leasing broker in the company again. And through this time, I met a client, not going to name names or anything like that, but it was a Russian client. And we had a really good relationship. I rented him an office on a 10-year lease, which was a big deal for me. I rented him 2 houses on a 5-year lease each for him and his family. I met him through Property Finder, funny enough. And I just, how I managed to build a good relationship with him, the one day, he's obviously brand new to Dubai. His son had fallen and like busting his face open. He sends me a message. He was talking to me at the time. Hi, can you please arrange a VIP ambulance? I'll pay any amount. Can you please send them quick? So I was obviously on the phone trying to get everything done for them. Managed to sort it for them, and ever since then we had a really, really good relationship. Okay. So he is an extremely intelligent guy, extremely wealthy guy, and I thought, okay, this could be an opportunity. I've been in the business 9 months now. I've seen what's happened there, everywhere. Let's start a brokerage together. So we started a brokerage.
Wait, so just hold on there. So you were only. You'd only been doing it for about 9 months.
9 months. So I was 20 at this point.
At 20 at that point. You'd literally just got your footing.
Yes.
Right? And then you were like, nah, I'm going to take another risk.
Exactly.
And now I'm going to go and try and set something up.
Exactly.
And kind of work with this Russian guy.
100%. It was a bit of a calculated risk because obviously I'd factored in sort of like a salary for myself and all of these different things.
Yeah.
But this is where the problem came in. So I got the salary every single month, and the problem was he never actually released the investment. He got so engulfed in moving his business over here that we never even got it off the ground, like at all. So I was sitting at home every single day, making 25,000 dirhams a month, but with absolutely nothing to do. So what was the thing that I was doing? Waiting for people to finish work. Let's go and get on the beers. Let's go out, nights out, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Like just an extremely, extremely unhealthy, unproductive life. And I've literally lost 9 months of my time in Dubai just from fucking around by doing that. So this was another rock bottom moment because eventually he stopped paying me. He could see the way that I was acting. I could see the way that things were going for him. It just wasn't aligning. So got back to a point where I had to give up my apartment that I was living in. I was living in Torch Tower, Dubai Marina, in a little 1-bedroom. And I had to move into another house share. So I was like, how has this happened to me again? I was doing so well and I've just basically thrown it all away. But one thing I will say is all of the skills that I'd learned previously from being a broker were definitely transferable.
How did you How did you get? Because you said you kind of hit the 2 rock bottoms, right?
Yes.
And what do you think? How did you get out of that? So for anyone listening to this and they hit a point in their life where they're hitting rock bottom, they think that the whole world is collapsing, there's no way out. You know, what bit of advice can you give them based on your experience or how you managed to get out of that?
I mean, the one bit of advice I could probably give you is that no one's there to help you. People obviously feel sorry for you, but people have got their own problems. So you need to find it within yourself, and you need to dig really deep to try and pull yourself out of that rut, because it can only get worse from that point if you don't do that. And you just, like, the one thing I can say is just start doing something to try and better your situation. And if you start, you can build on that, and then eventually things start going well with practice, with progress, and with time. So the second time, though, it was because there was alcohol involved, it was a little bit more difficult, because you would use that as a scapegoat.
And you're still underage at that time, aren't you, as well? Wasn't it 21?
So I was 21.
Oh, you were 21 at that time.
I was just about to turn 21 at this point. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, look at me. I don't look anything like the age that I am.
Just to say, this guy's 23 only now. And
23 at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, this is all recently, by the way, guys. And the second time, that is when I met my fiance today, which is Rebecca Pugh, also my business partner.
Such a lovely lady.
Yeah, such a love. It's like, honestly, my heart and my soul. And she was the one who helped pull me out of that situation, not because she at the time was doing things to pull me out, but she gave me sort of an ultimatum saying, if you don't pull yourself out of the situation, if you don't get back to work, if you don't do something, this is all over.
How did you guys meet?
We met through some mutual friends at like a house party, obviously drinking involved.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, that was just how it happened.
She was also in real estate,
She was also in real estate at the time.
Working for PH? Or
no,
not?
So she was doing her own thing with an investor as a sort of like a property management consultant. Yeah, so there was a couple of properties in her portfolio that she was tending to. So yeah, that was the situation at that time. And I remember going back so PH had sold at this point. So the two original owners of PH sold to 2 Iranian men who I'm very close with, very good friends with still up until this day.
Yep.
And they rebranded to their original name, which was Powerhouse Real Estate.
Yeah.
And Powerhouse had about 17 brokers at this point, maximum.
Yeah.
So he called me, funny enough, it was all like crazy timing.
Yeah.
He called me like right after I had this conversation with Rebecca, and he said, like, listen, we've got an opportunity for you. Please, we want you to come back and all of this. So I was like, I can start today. Went straight back in within my first month, put like 367,000 dirhams on the board. Just sold a penthouse in Dream Palm Residence. So that was obviously an amazing thing for me to do, like coming straight back into it.
So so just take me through that process. Like for those that don't know, like Dubai real estate and that, like how did you even get yourself to a point where you were able to sell it?
So I was, it was the investor that I was working for previously, or working with previously.
The Russian.
Yes, exactly. So I knew the property that I knew the owner of the property that he was renting from.
Yes.
And I connected that he wanted to buy that unit. So I connected with the owner, I connected with him, and I managed to put 2 and 2 together, and we did the deal. So like that was a massive kickstart to my real estate career in sales, because bearing in mind, this is 2022, first time I've ever done sales before in real estate, right? So within 2022 March until 2023 March, I think we sold, 560 million dirhams worth of real estate after that, because me and Rebecca then joined forces and we started selling as a team. Biggest sale I did was 125 million dirhams on F front, did another one on P front for 75 million dirhams, did another one on M front for 45 million dirhams. Bearing in mind, I was a JBR broker. I'd never done the palm before, but I just decided I'm going to go straight fucking.
So how did you get in touch with those sellers?
I used the leverage off of the deal that I'd just done on that penthouse as credibility to go and work on the fronts, on the palm.
So you basically, you would approach those sellers and say, listen, this is what I've just done.
Exactly.
Listen, I can do the same for you. I've got buyers.
Russian buyers. I've got a conglomerate of Russian investors. Can we work together? And then obviously manage, which I did have at the time, to be honest, because there was quite a lot of people from that network that I'd built that were now looking to get involved in the Dubai real estate market. So we sold Serenia Penthouse twice over. Then we sold it again a year later. So three sales on the same property, 401B Serenia, which was 19.2 million, 19.5 million, and then sold distressed at 14 million. Sold the Muraba penthouse at 4% commission, which was 26.5 million.
And for those that don't know, what sort of numbers take home commission is that, or some of those deals?
So let's put it like this, right? Obviously, every deal is different. And I made more money off a 26.5 million dirham deal than I did off a 125 million dirham deal. But I got way more credibility off the 125 million dirham deal than I did off the 26.5. So on the 26.5, I made 4%, which is around 1 million dirhams. And then obviously 30% goes to the company, 70% comes to us. On the other one,
so that's 700,000 dirhams.
Yeah, exactly.
Of one deal. That's
100%.
life changing. And you put that into, like, let's go back to South African rands.
Yeah.
That's like 4 million rand.
Yeah, it's quite a big chunk of money. I'm not gonna lie. And then I was approached by Khaleej Times, and they did an article about me saying that this one broker has made X amount of money in the month. So
So you were in Khaleej Times.
Yeah, I was in Khaleej Times. I was in Arabian Business. I was in a couple of different news articles.
Maddie Smith.
Yeah, so no, man, it was good. But then on the 125 million dirham deal, I only made 0.5%. So 625,000 dirhams on the board. But that credibility allowed me then enough oomph to go and start the luxury collection. So again, obviously it's nice to make that amount of money, but what are you going to do with that money? Because you know how Dubai is. You can spend that money so quickly if you don't manage that money correctly. And money is only good if you can compound that money. So we decided to take a risk again and start the luxury collection.
So when you said we, who?
Myself and Rebecca.
Okay.
Exactly.
And were you guys seeing each other at the time then?
Yeah. So we were together since that initial phase when I was in the shit.
Okay.
So yeah. Then
that's such an awesome story that she's literally with you from like that rock bottom stage.
It's
now
crazy.
You guys have got this building this little empire together.
It is.
It's awesome, man. I love
it feels
a story
awesome.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like all of that shit was so long ago, but it actually wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So it's crazy. Like for anyone out there, like the amount that you can build in such a small period of time if you put everything into that. So if you put everything into that particular thing. So I'd highly recommend, like especially new brokers coming into the market now, give it your everything. Forget about drinking. Forget about we've been through all of those mistakes and it's probably stunted us in our career. So if we can give you any advice, eliminate those things, give it your all for 6 months, give it your all for a year, and have that buffer over and above everyone else that's starting in the industry to be a great and successful real estate broker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
then what if you could give advice to any real estate broker that's coming across from anywhere in the world to start, what's one piece of advice that you could give them so that they could potentially find themselves into a position which maybe you are now?
One piece of advice that I would give them is eliminate all the distractions. Like, as you know, going out on the weekend, it's fun. Having friends is fun. But essentially, it takes you away from a job that is 24/7 in the beginning. You need a massive output for a very, very low input in the beginning, which means you have a large amount of work for a very little income in the beginning. But as you progress in your career, as you become better, as you start focusing on better things, putting yourself in better opportunities, that scale starts turning a little bit. And it's less output for more input, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So more money coming in with less work.
Yeah.
But the people who really become successful is keep them both there. So one thing I always say is when something works, most people slow down, but that doesn't make any sense. You should double down if something's working, because you know already that that's the proven formula. If I double down on that, it's just going to compound every single time. So that's probably the advice that I would give to someone that's joining into the Dubai real estate market.
And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of people do, get complacent.
Yes.
You do a deal, do 2 deals, it's a good sum of money, it
100%.
comes in, but you don't realize that pipeline, you've got to keep building it, because as great as it is now, if you're not building that pipeline in 60 days time, you haven't been building it now, you're going to hit that dry spell. And that's what I think kills so many successful brokers, that they go through these massive dry patches. They don't see the importance of that.
Either kills them or just sets them back so far. It's like you're starting at like ground one again, or like, do you know what I mean? Because you've done all that work, you've made all that money to just have no sellers, no prospects, and no buyers, and just starting all over again, which is not ideal. Business should be constantly flowing. As you know, so remain consistent in what you do. Like even to this day, like even though I've made a little bit of money here and there or whatever, I still don't leave my phone until the moment that I go to bed. People can get hold of me all the times through the day. I'm never going AWOL. I'm never going missing. I'm on it all the time because it's so important, because that's an opportunity that I could have missed that someone else could gain. Do you know what I mean? And that's how crazy the game is here because of the amount of brokers that are in the market. Like, let's be realistic. They say there's 25,000 brokers or something like that in the market. How many brokers do you know that don't have broker cards?
Yeah. So
probably more than the actual amount of brokers. So there's actually probably 50,000 brokers in the market. Plus, then you get these people that act as brokers that aren't even real estate brokers, just trying to fucking get themselves into deals because they know that it's a hot market. So the competition is unbelievably hard. So you need to be on it. You need to find a way to separate yourself from that in order to do well, because otherwise it's just a rat race. Do you know what I mean?
And I think that it might sound scary from someone that hasn't come across to think, how on earth am I going to be able to like compete with that? But you got to say that, you know, probably what I see so many brokers running around with half a brain cell and making so much money.
Exactly.
You know, the thing is that I never see that kind of like, I see competition as a good thing, right? Because when half your more than 90% of your competition is actually shit, it makes you look so much better if you're good.
100%.
So play that to your advantage, because someone's going to go on a viewing with a shit broker. They're going to think, oh my word, they're going to see you. If you're half decent, you're going to look that much better.
You're in the 10%.
100%. So that's why it's just, you just got to, if you are coming over straight into that market, you just put your head down, you graft hard. I feel like if you do the basics well, don't try and reinvent the wheel.
No.
You know, I think a lot of brokers come in.
It's good to be different.
It's good to be different.
But there's fundamentals that need to be done.
Exactly. There's a formula, you know, and if you kind of like follow the formula, you do the basics well and right, you will get to that point. And then once you get the hang of it, once you're grooving, then
you can start implementing different things into your day-to-day.
The beginning, what would you say as a broker, like, is the number one thing that they should focus on when they first come over in terms of an activity to get them income?
So I would say there's two things. One is cold outreach. So the amount of people that you're speaking to on a day-to-day basis is really, really important, because like, let's put it like this. If you speak to 100 people a day, right? And over the course of 30 days, you've then connected with 3,000 people, right? If you speak to 300 people a day, over the course of 30 days, you've connected them with 9,000 people. Do you see the difference and the gap in the amount of people that you can actually reach?
100%.
Second thing is try and find a way to add value to your clients, because since it's such a competitive market, if someone rings you on the phone and says, hi, I'm XYZ from XYZ company, is your property available for sale or rent? First thing you're going to do as a seller is put the phone down. And I know, because I own property in Dubai and I get cold calls every single day, and I'm putting them down every single day because nobody's different. Find a way to add value to that person. Rather give first and then take, if you know what I mean. 100%. So just simple things like sending out a market report where it tells them what capital appreciation they've made on their investment, what's been happening in the market over the last 3 months, what are the record-breaking sales that's happened over the last 30 days or something like that. And then put your contact details out there. But one thing you said is, obviously there's a lot of bad brokers in the market, right? There's also a lot of good brokers in the market, but there's no point being a good broker if you're not consistent. And consistency is so, so important. Like we were talking about before, like falling off the bandwagon after you do a couple of deals. If you're a good broker that gives an inconsistent service, you start getting really, really bad reviews. Because I said it on a video the other day. A bad broker, automatically you lower your guard, you lower your expectations, because you know that you're going to get a bad service and you're accounting for that bad service that person's giving you. When you're a good broker and you give a good service and then you inconsistent and you take it away from them, that's when people start getting really angry. So essentially, it's better to be a bad broker because you're getting bad reviews being a good broker that's inconsistent. So consistency is so, so important in this industry.
Amazing. Okay, cool. So now the luxury collection, you guys sort of set that up. When did you guys first set that up?
So we set that up in May 2023. So we've been going just under a year and a half now. Obviously we took no external investors with the luxury collection, unlike the first business that I tried to start, which went tits up, to put it frankly. And I learned a lot of mistakes. I've been in a business. So prior to that, like during my journey at Powerhouse, right? Obviously, I was doing all of these sales. I was making a lot of commission with Rebecca, and we were made directors of a company. And at the time, Powerhouse built up to like 300 agents in a year. So it was a big responsibility. We understood like the terms in terms of how to scale, wrong things that they were doing, because unfortunately they'd hired some bad people in bad positions. They sort of overextended themselves and it wasn't sustainable. So we wanted to take all of these things that we'd learned from PH, Powerhouse, all of these different businesses that we'd been in, and also being brokers, like we know what we want as brokers, and we try to implement that into the luxury collection as founding partners. So, initially started right off the bat with 3 brokers.
Yeah.
We now have just under 20 brokers working at the luxury collection.
Amazing.
But like I said, I don't want to build it up to a crazy amount of brokers, which is unsustainable and just hit and hope that they're going to do a deal. I want to have quality people within the business, because like one thing that you're big on and that we've noticed is culture in the business is extremely important, because there needs to be a certain dynamic for people to do well. And your environment is so important. Like if you go, like, let's talk about matching energy for a little bit. If I come into this podcast and I'm saying, yeah, Jake, so this is you're going to immediately match that energy, and it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Like you need it to be like-minded people with high energy that are bouncing off each other all of the time, because that's when opportunities start arising. And I'm sure you know yourself as a business owner.
100%.
Yeah.
You become like the people you surround yourself with. You're
True.
the product of your environment, and that's why company culture is so important.
Exactly.
And I feel like in the Dubai real estate market in particular, they overlook the importance of company culture.
100%.
Here, brokers are seen as cash machines. It's just a sink or swim, bums on seats sort of exercise, and it's possible to build a culture. And I fundamentally believe that's why, as an industry average, you're probably looking about 70% of brokers leaving the market.
Within the first 12 months, exactly.
Real estate's not rocket science, right? It's not complicated. It requires hard work, dedication. But if you take a step back and you see, if it's not rocket science, it's not complicated. The one driving factor which is causing so many people to leave the industry, it's the lack of culture and lack of support.
Exactly. I do agree with that. And then obviously lack of culture, lack of support, and then lack of motivation and consistency from that person. So it's all just a conglomerate of things that come together that make them fail. But you need to find the right company when you are looking here. So that's another point that I would say to new brokers. Do your research, understand what other brokers in that company have done. Is their training and development good? Is their marketing good? Because these are tools that you're going to use in order to become successful, along with hard work and dedication. But don't get me wrong, I've had some bad hires since I've started, because at the end of the day, fair enough, I may be an established, experienced broker that's done a lot of deals, but I'm not an established, experienced business owner just yet. I'm learning every single day. So, I mean, it's good that I've started this by myself, because I've managed to learn, we've managed to learn, myself and Rebecca, from all of our different mistakes, all of our bad hires. What can we change? What can we do better?
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that, even though it's probably been the hardest 18 months of my life, because imagine going from a broker where everything you're making is net to being 100,000 dirhams down at the start of every single month, because you've got expenses to pay, you've got salaries to pay, and you've got a high level of responsibility. And as the business gets bigger, the responsibility gets more, but you also grow as a person. So you have to up your standards to match your capabilities, I would say.
Now, for anyone looking to start their own real estate brokerage, right? What's one piece of advice that you would give them for when they start their journey?
I would say sales is key. Any business can look good on paper, but if you don't do sales, your business doesn't work, and you will burn out and you will die, regardless of how much money you have. So focus on getting a good training and development team in place to train the brokers that are coming into the business, so that they're able to make money off the bat, so that you can do sales in order to improve things like company culture, systems, structure, and office space, and all of these different things. But without sales, you're going nowhere.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So I'd say sales is probably the most fundamental part. And also, don't overextend yourself when you're starting a brokerage. Like especially if you're doing it without investment. Be careful about what you're spending your money on, because as a new business owner, you need to manage your finances so well. You need to know exactly what's coming in and out of your business in order to then go into a profit eventually, because that's the goal, right? You put some money into the business, you're at a loss already, you've got capex costs, and you need to pay them back and start making a profit in order to expand your business, in order to grow. So be aware of what's going on with your finances, manage it well, and manage it conservatively.
Awesome. Well, bro, listen, it's been an incredible conversation, dude. We've been sitting here for an hour already.
I can't even believe it. Yeah.
Now, I've got a final question for you.
Sure.
Okay. What does escaping normal mean to you?
I mean, it's sort of like what you say it is. Like someone said it really well the other day. It being exceptional is having to be an exception. So you can't just be like every other normal person. You have to be an exception in order to stand out. and in order to do those things. So, I mean, you're a prime example of someone, you've got your own story, and I'd love to actually bring you onto a podcast to do the reverse of it. But yeah, escaping normal is basically just normal people doing exceptional things via becoming exceptions.
Amazing. Well, listen, bro, you're honestly one of the most humble guys I've met out here. I still can't believe, dude, you're 23 years old.
I genuinely had a tough paper round though. I look about 46, but
you know, you've been through it. But bro, I genuinely do think that, you know, I'm really excited to know you
100%, and to
be
collaborate
and to collaborate with you.
And that's one thing that we were talking about before the podcast is like the importance of collaboration between like, which we are, smaller businesses.
Yes.
Because we're competing against big boys in the market. We didn't come here in 2006, 2007, 2008 and cement our names into the market. We've not had 15 years experience. We don't have 400 brokers working for us. But together, as a team with collaboration, we can outshine these people. So, man, it's always a pleasure. And you know we're doing stuff together, and I'm looking forward to taking that relationship further. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
My boy,
Appreciate it, lad. Cheers.